Hey everybody, welcome to another video on the 67 Stang channel. So today what I'm hoping to do is get in and change the gear oil back in the differential. I'll be honest, I don't know that the fluid in the differential has ever been changed. I would think it had to be at some point, but I know when my dad and I got the car back, if you remember from the interview I did with him, he had sold this car to our neighbors in 77, 78 time frame for their daughter who had just gotten her driver's license. And then in 87, we bought it back from our former neighbors after they moved to New York. And my dad and I flew all the way up there to New York, got the car and drove it all the way back. Anyway, so I know from 87 when we had it till now, I'm 90% sure the differential fluid has never been changed. Was it changed before that? I don't know. No one I've asked, my dad or the neighbors that we still stay in contact with, they don't necessarily recall whether it was or was not changed. So for all I know, that's original gear oil in that rear end, potentially. So we're going to get down and look at it. Now I have been consulting with my trusty, shop manual. Some neighbors walk by. So if you are working on restoring a car, working these old cars, I recommend getting one of these. If you can't find one of the original shop manuals, they reproduce these obviously for the Cougar, Mustang, Fairlane Comet. So this is a good source. So anyway, in here on chapter 4, I went in to verify certain things like the amount of fluid. So this, because it's an inline 6, has the 7 1/4 inch conventional rear end, meaning it's not limited slip or anything fancy like that. According to this, it has a total capacity of 2.5 pints. And then it uses M2C105-A lubricant, which is part number C6AZ-19580-B, which comes out, if you do a search on that part number, to this 80W90 gear oil. So got a whole gallon of it, which is, I think, more than 2 pints. I don't remember how many pints are in a gallon, but it should get us there. Also, to go with this, to make it easier to get in there, I've got this little pumpy device, hopefully, which will pump the oil out of that and up into the differential, assuming I can get into it. So let's go down under the car and kind of talk about what's entailed with changing out the differential fluid on the inline 6 with the 7 1/4 inch rear end in it. So I should point out, if you're not a mechanic or you're just finding things, you're just getting started, each differential is going to be a little different. Some of them have drain plugs, some of them don't. Some of them you drain and fill through the same plug. So everyone's going to be a little different. You need to check your way out. So I'm going to get some gloves on and we'll get under the car now. Okay, so we're up under the car looking at the differential. There's the U-joint from the drive shaft that comes in, which I also need to replace. I have it, I can do that. But anyway, you'll see that. See if I can shift here. See this bolt, nut, screw, I don't know what you call it here. That takes a normal, I think, 3/8 inch ratchet head to get into it. And I don't mean like any stud, or it's just square. It's the same size as 3/8 inch ratchet. This is your fill hole. So this is what we pour push the gear oil into. So we're going to, first thing is to try to get that out. If you can't get that out, there is no way to easily refill this with the design of this differential. So if you can't get that out, you might as well stop right there. So we're going to try to get that out. I've been hitting it with some PB blaster to loosen it up, because like I said, I don't know when the last time this thing was out. I'm probably going to come down here with a wire wheel too and clean up some around it anyway. So we got that. Once you get this out, then, and I'm going to shift around to the other side of the differential. Okay, so now we're on the other side of the differential. So this is the differential cover. This thing right here is the muffler. So we're right here next to the muffler. I probably should have done this before I put the muffler in, but it is what it is. So you can see I've soaked that with PB Blaster. But what we got to do next is get these, after we get the drain plug out, make sure that comes out, we've got to take off this, right? So we got to undo all these bolts. You'll also notice there's a tag here that identifies the differential, what size and all that is. So that's original of the car. So you pull this off, and then all the fluid comes running out of here. Right, so it's going to come spilling out where you can see. Have to clean that off. Where I had the PB Blaster, anyway, it comes pouring out of here. So you want to make sure you have a catch pan. But then once this is off, I should be able to see if this brake line's not in the way. I just realized that's in the way, but I can unclip it too. I've got this. Yeah, so that brake line is the one I was talking about. This one might be in the way, but I think if I pop the bolts out, all that bolt right there is going to be a pain with the brake line in the way. So I'll figure that one out. So we'll get that out. Once we drop it, then we'll get to look in here inside and see how the shape of the differential is, which I don't think shouldn't be in bad shape, honestly. I haven't heard any problems, but since I don't know when it was changed, I'll do that. Now, there's also going to be a gasket. I have a new gasket that goes between the cover and the differential housing itself, so we've got to do that. Put a new gasket on there, so I've got that as well. So this shouldn't be too hard. It just depends on how hard these bolts are. So we're going to get in and try to get that one on the front out first. Where the drain plug is, and see if we can knock it loose. So that'll give us our first gander on the interior. So then, get running away. Oh yeah, there's my favorite thing, the sending unit too. Okay, folks, we'll get at it now. If I don't roll away, oh my creeper! Woo! It's going crazy. Okay, so I am very happy. That actually went much easier than I expected. As you can see, we got the plug loosened, and now it is out. So there is the plug and what it looks like. So it looks like at least part of it was wet with gear oil. So at least I hope that's what it is. So now comes the fun part. So stick the plug where I don't lose it. Is kind of sticking a finger up in there. Okay, so definitely got some gear oil, so it has some in there. Yay, that's a good sign. It actually looks pretty damn good. Look at how that's dripping off there. Huh, it's that clean in there. Feels, huh. I'm probably going to go ahead and change it, but it's actually in good shape. So this is, I'm pretty sure this is not the original gear oil. Either that or some really damn good stuff in there. So, yeah. Okay, so step one, done. Get that out, which we did. I said it wasn't too hard. I did have to use a breaker bar a little bit on it, but came out pretty easily. Yay for that. Exciting. So now we'll get to working on the front, getting the front cover off. Okay, so a little bit of a change of plans here. Had a friend of mine who was a mechanic, and he looked at the gear oil that was coming out of there and said that there's really no need to change it. It looked like it was in decent shape. It certainly wouldn't hurt to change it, but it wasn't critical. That it seemed to have some good viscosity left in it. He said you've got several thousand miles left on that before you really need to change it. So with that, the fact that it was still mostly full, showing there's no leaks or anything, I decided, why do something you don't have to do? So all I did was go ahead and top it off. So you can see the pump, it took, you know, probably 3 squirts and it was already leaking out the fill hole. So I'm going to take that as a win. We've topped her off with some gear oil. I said it wasn't a lot. Certainly not given the age of the car. So it's obvious that this had been changed sometime after the car had been built. So it wasn't the original by any stretch. So we're going to leave it as it is. If I need to do it later, I can. At least now I know the drain plug comes out. So I've got it back in there. See, she's sealed up and not leaking. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. It makes life a whole lot easier. So we're gonna call that a job, which means this is gonna be a very short video. So I guess it's nice when something actually goes right for a change. So I guess we're gonna, like I said, call it. I hope or thought I'd have to do the whole thing, but luckily I don't. It turned out the gear oil was pretty good shape. So with that, I have reached out to National Parts Depot about the instrument relay that broke yesterday, or whenever I was doing the last video. So hopefully I'll hear back from them soon and be able to. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and interrupt in the middle of this. I've actually already heard back from National Parts Depot. They're sending me a replacement unit. No questions asked. Travis over there did a great job of responding to my problem, getting me a new one. So a thumbs up to National Parts Depot for great customer service and getting the problem resolved. I think that speaks a whole lot about a company when you can see how they respond to problems. So they did a great job. So go buy stuff from National Parts Depot. Now back to the video. Get that buttoned up. It still leaves the carburetor. I have not decided yet what I'm going to do about it. Obviously I got to pull it and evaluate it, but I mean a new carburetor that's of any quality, that's similar type, that one barrel is going to be close to 200 bucks. The other options, well, I have several options. One is obviously the new car. Two, I could go ahead and go with a kit that would update it to a 2-barrel carburetor, either an Autolite or a Weber. Could do that. The other thing I'm thinking about is Holley's EFI, electronic fuel injection. You know, I've got the wire harness to support it. Since I've done all that, the EFI would be more reliable, I think, in the long run. Give it more power. Just that's not going to be cheap. Of course, neither one of these is going to be cheap. The 2-barrel option, I think, is going to end up being around $500. The EFI option, because you've got to replace, you got to get the EFI unit, you've got to get a new fuel pump, and all that. So we're probably looking close to $1,000 to do that. So, not sure which I should do. You know, if you've got any ideas or inputs, please share them in the comments. Be interested to hear your thoughts before I move forward, because obviously I can't get the car really back on the road until I get the carburetor situation ironed out. So, other than that, I mean, dang, we're so close. We got the seats in the car now. We got to get the instruments obviously in the car and working. Got to get the steering wheel back on, but that's not that big a deal. And then we can figure out from there what we need to do on the rest of the car. Where do we want to go next? But anyway, that's a topic for a later video. So with that, guys, if you liked what you see, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Please leave comments on any ideas, suggestions, or whatnot that you have for that. And make sure you subscribe to the channel, right? Tell your friends. I said we're up to 128 something subscribers. In the grand scheme, very small, but for a channel like this that's pretty focused on one single project and one single car, I think it's pretty good. But anyway, with that, guys, y'all have a great one, and I'll see y'all in the next video.